What's next, the future of tickets, technology, and our industry. And obviously this is evolving and dynamic and exciting. So what I'm going to do is I want each of you to, well, I'll introduce you. So Dan Archibald from tickets.com. Let's just start with you. What's your job at tickets.com, and what is the most exciting, challenging thing that you've seen come up in your business in terms of technology, in terms of what you are looking for, what you are seeking, and if you actually get that?
Okay. Dan Archibald from Boston, Massachusetts.
Bring it closer.
How's that? Pretty good?
Yeah, better.
All right. These guys don't want to hear from me anyway. Yeah, my role at Tickets.com is to help introduce our technology and services to venues and franchises throughout North America. I think the biggest challenge and probably the most exciting piece that we've seen in our business, and probably across some of the other primary providers, is being able to integrate more deeply with some of the additive ticketing technology providers that are out there. Some of them you've seen here as sponsors, whether it's integrating more closely with a Parking Panda, with a Spotlight TMS, creating some rich data and some integration with people like StubHub, who we work very closely with some of our professional sports franchises. That's really the key piece and the biggest challenge that's really out there in the market. When we talk to franchises, when we talk to facilities, they want a bigger toolbox. They need more tools at their disposal for their retention problems, for their new sales problems, for their distribution problems. And really that primary ticketing technology has held them back for a considerable amount of time. So we've really emphasized a platform approach where we can build on open architecture to integrate with some of these great partners and technology that's come out. And I think we'll talk about a few more of those in the course of the panel.
Jeff Bennett, president of Raptor Sports Properties. You know, I think you guys provide kind of data, and that's kind of the elusive thing out there in terms of how much do we know about the fan, and it still seems like, despite the fact that sports business is what it is, that we still are seeking to know more. So tell me about what you guys have been able to do and what the next frontier is.
Sure. My name's Jeff Bennett. I'm a founder and president and CEO of Raptor Sports Properties. We're a company that has offices in New York, Boston, London. And basically, we embarked a couple years ago in a collaborative effort with Jim Pilata, who's an owner of the Boston Celtics and an owner of AS Roma, to look at the business through that prism. Because what was evident was both of those franchises, both of those properties are global in nature, with fans all over the world. But basically, there's a big problem in terms of those two properties really understanding who their fans are. They have different challenges from a business perspective, different opportunities as they go forward. And we actually we started to look at how we could put together a platform that basically would work hand in glove with what Dan was describing, that could aggregate fan information and fan data from ticketing platforms, but also from other platforms that were inside of a club, like merchandising and e-commerce, but also that would go outside of the club to look at social. And really try to find a way to marry what is the holy grail, I believe, which is offline and online data, so that a property like Roma could have a 360-degree view on one fan, but also, if you step back, could have a 360-degree view on a larger set of fans that they knew a lot about. So it would start to improve the relationship that they might have, or the Celtics might have. And we built this as a business, as a separate outside business that could work with all sorts of properties, sports, entertainment-wise, to really start to get a handle on where their data was, but also then to put it to use, to actually drive more engagement, drive more commercial activities.
Susan, colleague at the NHL, kind of want to talk with you about the Winter Classic, or Classics, the Stadium Series, and how, I mean, the NHL really took that back. So what did you guys learn? What did as far as having that as a league property and doing as much as you guys did, what did you learn about the future?
Absolutely. Well, with that, starting with the Winter Classic, our national priority, our efforts began a few years ago really to build scale for the benefit for all of our teams. At the time, it was creating national platforms that our partners could activate against and invest in with us, to create interest so that we could work with our broadcast partners to really grow our fan base on an organic way across North America, globally as well. And with that, how do we fuel the growth of our business for the benefit of all of our teams? So then getting back to what Jeff was talking about, being able to understand who these fans are, not only in their market, but outside of their market, and be able to talk to them and have that conversation. So it starts with these major events that not only attract interest in the local market. Winter Classic now is a national platform. Whether or not you're necessarily a rabid hockey fan, you know what Winter Classic is. And when you look at the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Detroit Red Wings playing at the Big House, people are interested in that and just the dynamic of what goes on. And we've been really fortunate. Every one of our events has had some really special circumstances around it and great games, so it's really achieved what we wanted.
Quick follow-up, what did you learn about people that watch or attend the Winter Classic or the games that are played outside in stadiums that is different from your data on regular NHL fans?
Well, I think in some respects it's attracting some of the more casual fans that have an interest in hockey, but maybe aren't season ticket holders or have gone to fewer games. They become interested in the game. They become excited about the experience that they have. And with that, we've been able to really grow our fan base exponentially, not only with respect to what we do for television viewership, but if you look at our Stadium Series games, those are intended to be more regional events. You could sell out an outdoor game in Boston every week probably, but you can't have a Winter Classic there every year. So can we use those events to really light up the marketplace and grow that market even more so that we leave a legacy for the team in that marketplace that they can build on as well?
Michelle Kajiwar is the Vice President of Premium Seating Sales at the Staples Center, obviously owned by AEG. Michelle, let's talk about technology. Obviously, there are different tenants in the Staples Center, so what do people within the suites want, and is that different depending on whether someone's going through with a concert, Lakers, Clippers, and how do you offer all of that?
Yeah, so we've got a lot of moving parts in our building, and it's certainly been a colorful last few weeks. So the way that we kind of attack any of that technology challenges internally is in two different ways. One is we are adopting a new ticketing platform called Outbox, which we are rolling out to all of our venues worldwide. Staples is the last piece of that, but hopefully we will integrate to Outbox very soon. We've also just adopted a new CRM, and we are using Core, so that is also something that's global. And so across all of our venues, we're able to see a lot of the shared data and can certainly pull any of the reporting that we need to. So internally, that's what we're doing. I will say that being in a 15-year-old building, we haven't done as much as I think we should on the technology side for our clients. You know, the ultimate goal is always to see...
Has that hurt?
You know, we've really been fortunate in that we've got good team performance in the building, and so I think it's been a nice distraction from some of the other things that we need to do. But we have a new piece of inventory called Premier Lounges and Tables, and in that space we're trying to get caught up, I think, where we're deficient on our suite and our Premier seat side. There is a charging station for every kind of device that you could possibly have within that space. I see someone nodding their heads. And then we also have TVs because, you know, when you talk about decouching, our clients need to watch all of the other playoff games that are happening. They need to, you know, be updated on whatever else is happening in the news. And so having that television as a complementary piece to what's happening on the ice or on the court, that's also very impactful. And so we're not where we need to be on the food and beverage side, too. We need to be more efficient in how we take orders, and so it's remote. And we're trying to get there, but with Outbox coming on and trying to work with partners like Spotlight, it's been a little bit delayed, but we hope in the next year or so that everything will be up and running very smoothly.
Danielle Magid is the Global Head of Business Development for StubHub. Danielle, can you comment on kind of the changing expectation of what your consumer, when they go to StubHub, expects to see digitally, mobily, how fast they want to get it, how they get it, that kind of thing?
Sure. So let me just take a step back. Can you guys hear me? Close enough. I have a lot to say on that topic because I've been with StubHub for over
You have 3 minutes.
3 minutes. Okay, I'll keep it to 3 minutes. I've been with the company for 10 years, and I came from the rights holders side. So I came from places like the NBA and Madison Square Garden. So my perspective is really interesting and a little more nuanced than perhaps some of my colleagues who are technically just e-commerce people. 10 years ago, we provided access, and so that was what StubHub did. We disrupted the value chain, the entertainment value chain, whether it's sports or music, by providing an alternative for people to buy tickets and gain access for whatever they wanted to see. So we were definitely a disintermediating force, which comes with some good and bad as far as the industry, which we're a polarizing company. But for consumers, we are a mainstream consumer brand now, and that's just the reality. Like, industry may feel one way, but consumers love us, right? Our Net Promoter Scores prove that. So we have a lot of partners. We'd rather work with the industry than not work with the industry. So I have 2 partners on this panel alone. And that's what my team does. So my team oversees all global partnerships. So consumers have become accustomed to getting in when they want, where they want, how they want. And so with the advent of mobile, we're seeing significant behavioral shifts in expectations, right? People, whether it's not just for tickets, but for anything they want, they're searching, they're looking at, reviews, and they're buying last minute, and they're buying online. Like, I hang out with 16-year-olds all the time on Sundays watching football, and they're all on their iPads, and they're buying things online. They don't even visit stores anymore. And they definitely don't care about going to games the way we used to care. So on StubHub, behaviorally, we're seeing 40% of our purchases, our transactions, in the last 72 hours. And 20% in the last 8 hours before game time. And that is a seismic shift. And so we as a company are struggling at how to keep up with the mobile demand. I mean, we have...
What was that? I wanted to tweet that. 40% what?
40% or 72 hours or less purchases.
Before the game, okay.
Yeah.
Is that tweetable?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And we're at this year alone, we're at almost 30% mobile and 50% of our traffic. So there's conversion issues, right? I'm sure all of you guys are facing conversion issues for mobile. Like, mobile has to be optimized for conversion. Otherwise, our sales will go down. So we're heavily focused on this last-minute purchaser because that's the behavior of the consumer, and that's how they want to shop. And people can put their head in the sand, or they can face the reality. And that's just the behavioral for everything, for all purchases, not just ticketing.
Erwin Raj, is that how you pronounce it?
Rye.
Rye,
Yeah.
partner of Foley and Lardner. 2 questions for you. One, as we seek to have more information of a fan, tracking them, what kind of legal concerns do we have about that? And then I'll ask you your second question after.
Well, I think the demand for data is tremendous, right? When you're with a team, it's control. It's about control. It's about access. It's about ownership of that data and using it any way you can. And there are privacy issues that are involved. And, it depends on how they acquired the ticket, and there are licenses that describe what their rights are and what the rights are not, and it's extremely important you're very clear about what the team's rights are and whoever's handling the data, because there are potential challenges that can come from not disclosing how that data may be used and your ability to manipulate that data. But it's amazing to see the sea change in, I've been doing sports law for I think 12 years now, and from 2002 to now, the opportunities to manipulate data, the efforts to stretch that as much as possible, the efforts to there was a while that the ticket companies, you may own the data of the team, but you didn't really have access to that data. And this was a huge issue that teams were dealing with and fighting about because they want to be able to sell their clients their way. And the ticket companies had their ways of selling the clients. So there was this tension that existed for some time that now what you're seeing is that they're actually bridging those challenges. Now teams are working better with their ticket companies as a result of some of the competition. But in all of this, there's huge privacy issues that you have to go through, significant disclosures, and just be cautious, but very easy to overcome. You just have to be aware.
One of my favorite lawsuits over the past month was the Bills lawsuit, where the merchandise shop, they over texted. They said they would only text 5 times a week or whatever, and they texted 6 or 7, and that cost them $3 million. How much do teams know about this type of stuff?
Well, I'm not. I think people are getting a lot more sophisticated after that case. I think that's the first time we've actually seen someone go after the policy and then be successful litigating it. And I think it was eye-opening. When you tell someone you're going to use your data a particular way, you need to use it that particular way. If you're going to say you're going to use it 3 times, you can't use it 8 times or 4 times. If you're going to share, I'm going to share it only with people in the stadium, you share it only with people in the stadium. Or sponsors. You cannot go beyond what your privacy policy is, because then you are exposed. And that's not going to change. And I think, for good or bad, we're in a litigious society. And people are looking for those opportunities. Look, when we bombard people with emails, some people love it, some people don't. And those who don't will look at those disclosure policies and very carefully to see if there's an opportunity. I mean, they turned it into a class. And that's the worst kind of. If you're anyone in litigation, if you're on the other side of a class action, that's not fun. It's expensive, and it's problematic. And it's something that can be solved easily up front, and that requires coordination from the legal side and the ticketing side, and actually your folks working through implementing your technology plan, because that could be as simple as just a simple disconnect, something lost along the way. That lawsuit, if properly managed, that should have never happened.
Danielle, how do I get your data besides scraping it? Can I buy it?
Well, it's so interesting because we've had some instances where we, through our integrations, our back-end barcode cancel reissue, our partners have visibility into all our transaction data, and we've had instances where we're eBay, we're an eBay-owned company, public company, very, very strict privacy laws, and we're technologically set up for that, but our partners are not necessarily. So we've had instances where, because of a partnership and the transfer of data on all data, transaction, buyer, seller, everything, it's been misused, right? And so because the other party doesn't have the proper opt-out, and so we've had to be vigilant. With us, all of our partners, meaning the integrated partners, so whether it's AEG or Tickets.com partners, have full visibility into all of our transactions, price, seller, and we have privacy policies and opt-in, opt-out, so the assumption is those are going to be followed. There's no one who has full visibility into all of our data, other than there's discrete parts of it, right? So only we know all of our data. So there's lots of companies that go out and try and scrape our site, and they claim they know what a Yankees or Rangers ticket's selling for, but they're scraping the listing data. That's not the transaction data. That's not the sell-through data. So I always get a laugh when I have really good friends on teams who, we hear you're selling X dollars for New Jersey Nets or whatever it is, and it's not the number, because there's no way for them to have it unless they have an integration the way we do, for the O2 in London, or we have for the Staples Center, where they have full transparency. So they'll know that discrete number, but there's really no way to know the real number unless you are a partner of ours.
How are we on time? What do I have until?
I think we're past it.
Oh, we're hours past.
5 minutes left? So everyone's got to be able to go twice. Michelle, what are you concerned about for the future?
I'm most concerned that we don't have defining relationships with every single one of our decision makers in the building. And even being with the company for 11 and a half years, I've only recently, because we found one level of engagement by taking some of our suite holders to the Masters this year, I wasn't able to meet some of these clients in the entire time I've been in the building, and that's a shame. And so my biggest challenge is to make sure that everybody on my staff, myself included, is out there making sure that we have great relationships, that we understand what unique experiences each client wants and needs, and how we can be an indispensable part of that, providing that to them, whether it's leveraging part of AEG's platform, which is worldwide and which is great, but it's also being able to rely on partnerships and do other things that they wouldn't otherwise be able to get if they didn't have a relationship with us. So.
Susan, people always say if there's a sport that's equipped to battle TV and get to the arena, it's the NHL. Do you guys play that up? As far as being there, watching what's happening on the ice, people say, oh, you know, that's a sport where TV, even in HD and my now $600 60-inch from Costco, can't replace.
I think we look at it both ways. Certainly, you can't replicate the in-arena or in-game experience of watching a hockey game live. It's phenomenal. But we really work hard, and if you look at the growth of our ratings really over the last 5 years or even the last decade, we've improved that. Just technology from a viewership standpoint, no matter what you're doing, is bringing that in-arena experience to somebody watching at home. But one of the things that's important for us is nobody, whether it's us or any other sport, is sitting in front of a television. So what they're doing is, if they're watching on television, they're also using this, or they're looking at their iPad. There's so many different ways that they're connecting into what's going on during that game. So the visual on screen is just one piece of it. They may be socially connecting with their friends. They may be looking at stats. They may be looking at what's going on behind the scenes. So for us, it's how do we connect that all up, using technology to do that, and our partners, and technology for us at the league level, and being able to push it out to the teams just to surround that experience for our fans. And we've been really successful at that.
Jeff, what is the most insane piece of data you've ever come across?
Well, when we were actually starting to work with Roma, there was this thesis that their fan base was very large around Rome, probably large where there were other big Catholic populations, in different pockets in the U.S. But what was the biggest unknown was that the second largest fan base was in Indonesia.
Indonesia?
Indonesia. And
how do you leverage that then?
Well, you leverage it by looking at digital engagement, fan outreach. You also leverage that by looking at where your team might tour. You also leverage it by looking at marrying up sponsors that might be in that region that would be attracted to that base. And so it's a combination of all of those things. But, you know, nobody knew that going into it. It was just, as we aggregated this pool of fan information, digital fan information as well as first-party data, that's what came out, and it just blew them away. And it's actually had an impact on a bunch of different business development and partnership and sponsorship activities.
Dan, I don't know if you can answer this question. This is my pie in the sky question. Where are people most likely to suddenly go if you have data of, besides looking at a schedule and then clicking to buy a ticket on tickets.com, where are people at in terms of their content cycle? Are they looking at a sports article on ESPN and then their next click is tickets.com, or do you know a general path besides the blatant I'm looking at a schedule and now I'm going to click and buy? Is there obviously you're probably going to try to target that place, but where is that?
Yes, absolutely. I think that first and foremost, you have Google and you have StubHub. So I think Danielle made the note, get your head out of the sand. That is becoming the primary destination. Ticketmaster, to their credit, does a great job of being a primary destination for tickets, and tickets.com is certainly massively invested in becoming a primary destination in certain markets in North America. But I think particularly in the New York metro market, and I think some of the people that run facilities here, StubHub has become that destination. They've become very fan-friendly, and I think that you probably need to have some piece of your inventory or some program tied to that to be successful selling to individual fans.
Dan, Jeff, Susan, Michelle, Danielle, and Erwin, thank you so much. Thanks, guys.